Welcome back to If I Knew You Better. I'm Brendan Davis, your host, and today is a slightly melancholy day for me. I posted my last regular episode of my original podcast, Big Fish in the Middle Kingdom, today. That is the spiritual older brother to this show, and the episode is with Beijing-based comedian Nick Cheng. And yes, I had planned to do a special solo show here. I teased it 2 weeks ago, and I will get to that soon. I'm waiting on a little news to play out so that I can make it more satisfying, frankly. I need a little bit of information to solidify so I can say some things definitively. But as I was recording this last episode of Big Fish in the Middle Kingdom, it struck me how close it was to this format here. So I've sort of evolved. They're very similar shows, but I've evolved this in addition to not being China focused here specifically. I am getting a little deeper and trying to be a little more, granular in terms of people's underpinnings and stuff. And it's it's meant to be fun, but it's not always quite so casual as on Big Fish. And I thought Nick's story would really play well here also. So I'm doing something that I've done in the other direction more than once, which is cross-posting these shows to Big Fish. Today, I'm cross-posting that last Big Fish in the Middle Kingdom interview here on If I Knew You Better. Now, in that show intro, I talk about what makes it such a special show. I'll tell you this much, of course, for now. Basically, Nick's story is this tale of struggle and perseverance and personal bravery. And it's also a lot of fun. He's a comedian, and we have a lot of laughs in this. But I think he's got a really bright future in comedy and as a comedic performer in general. So for all these reasons, it came out to be a really interesting and special show, and I really want to share it with you here too. Now, I've done over 100 episodes of that podcast, so there are many other great guests just waiting to be discovered there if you like this interview that's coming up as an example. So I hope you'll check that show out too if you have not done so already or don't know it. I'm going to keep that catalog online forever, so it's not going anywhere. You can check it out. And there's some people who are sort of famous, some people who I think will be successful and known, and just some regular people who aren't doing something to be famous, but they're great folks with a great story. So if you like these kind of interviews, please give it a look. Go to crazyinagoodway.com or search Big Fish in the Middle Kingdom on any podcatcher, and you can find them all. And barring any unforeseen circumstances, I will be back next week with that solo show as I promised. But for now, please enjoy this very special episode of Big Fish in the Middle Kingdom with my guest, Nick Cheng. Welcome back to Big Fish in the Middle Kingdom. I'm Brendan Davis, your host, and this is a very special episode for several reasons. I will get into the second biggest reason in a moment, but the first reason, which is also pretty big, is that my guest today is Nick Cheng. Now, Nick is known around town as Long Hu, the comedian in heels, not to spoil some reveals in the interview, actually, but he has a much richer backstory than his stage persona as a popular comedian here in Beijing. Nick grew up in a small town in the UK where everybody knew your name and your business, which was not always that convenient. He served in the Royal Navy and intended to make it his career, but fate and a undiagnosed medical condition intervened and changed his plans. Along the way, he also realized that he was gay. And as he tells it, this was in a place and a time where that was much harder to deal with than it is for most people in most places today. Now, we're a little late for Pride Month, but this episode is such a tale of struggle, perseverance, and what I see as personal bravery on his part. In addition to being a lot of fun, there are a lot of laughs in this, but I think it's kind of timeless. So I'm really proud to share this with you. Also, the second piece of big news is, as I've been teasing now for a few weeks, this is my very last scheduled interview on Big Fish in the Middle Kingdom. And I mean this for real this time. I am planning a special solo show to conclude the series next week. And I may post the occasional bonus feature here, but I'm moving my long-form one-on-one interviews to my other podcast, If I Knew You Better. I also have How China Works with Ying Li. We are happily continuing that show, and that show is picking up steam and an audience, which is really gratifying. But I don't need 2 China podcasts, and so I'm going to focus those efforts into How China Works, and my more global and occasionally esoteric and entertainment business focused efforts are going to be here on the new show, If I Knew You Better. there's a lot I want to say, and I'll get into this next week in some detail. But for now, I just want to touch on a few points about me and what's going on and why all of this. My time that I've spent here in China has mostly been really amazing. I've learned, I've grown in ways I never could have predicted, in addition to everything that you might expect that you're going to discover as an expat and the things I was kind of aiming for. And I've had some really incredible experiences across this country. I've gotten to see a fair amount of it. It's so huge that I've barely made a dent in it, but I still have gotten to travel a good bit. And I've made some truly great friends here along the way, people I'm going to be friends with till the end of my days, and hopefully that's a long time in the future to put this to the test. And I plan to keep a small piece of my life here, both in terms of a few business projects that are in development and probably a somewhat bigger piece of my heart in a lot of ways. But the time has come for me to move on and move forward with the next phase of my life. So ending this show and embracing the new is the next logical step for me. Now, I'm still not 100% sure how the rest of this year is going to play out for me. I hope to know a little bit more before the solo show next year so I can get into some details. But it is looking good to get back to Paris with my team and make this movie we've been developing. And if that all comes together as we hope it will, then I would be gone through the end of the year. That's also what helps to precipitate this change. But I take nothing for granted in the film business, except that things rarely go exactly how you hope they will go. So I'm keeping a very loose grip on my expectations for Plan A, as I also face the reality that Plan B for me isn't likely here, at least not anymore and not full time. So that means it's almost time to move on. But not yet, because first we have one last really fantastic chat for you to listen to here. After the show today, I hope that you'll search and subscribe to If I Knew You Better. It's available on all the podcatchers, wherever you get this. You can find it online. You can find it at crazyinagoodway.com, where you can find the entire archive of Big Fish. You can find how China works and everything else, as I have some really excellent guests from around the world lined up for that show. But for now, though, I sincerely hope that you enjoy this very special last interview on Big Fish in the Middle Kingdom with Nick Cheung. Well, I'm glad to be here with Nick Cheung. Nick, how are you, man?
Oh, I'm good. Excited to be here on this sunny day. So
yeah, glad to have you come in here. And we were talking beforehand that this is technically, as far as I know, this is the last Big Fish interview that I'm going to do. It may be a surprise down the road, but you might be the last one, so no pressure.
Yeah, well, I'll try and also be the biggest fish as well. Then.
Nice. Well, you are a tall guy and a strapping lad. How tall are you? An American asking a Brit, and we're in China, so you're going to give me some scale.
Normally,
don't tell me that you weigh 12 stone, or I don't know what the fuck stone is, but
well, normally I'm 6'2", but occasionally I can be taller.
Okay, well, we'll get to that. That's a special. You have your Gene Simmons platform boots, right? No. Anyway, don't want to spoil the surprise that's coming. If people know you, they know the surprise.
Yeah,
but let's start with Big Fish. I have to even remember, because I haven't done one of these interviews like this in a while. I have my first question is a 3-parter. It's give me the short version of who you are, where you're from, and for you, why China. And then we'll get into all the details.
Okay. So the short version is my name is Nick Cheung, but I'm actually born in Britain. I'm British descent. Mm-hmm. I moved to China about 5 years ago, where I met my partner, and we got married a year ago.
Nice.
And I took their family name instead of mine because it just seemed to sound better, Nick Cheung, as opposed to their.
Right, and you're very British, and you're a big strapping bearded
very
fella.
British, big bushy beard.
You don't have any
eyes,
Asian ethnicity to you, clearly. So it's probably a lot of double takes. And so, short version of what brought you to China, because of the story. I know enough of your story to know it's really interesting, which is why you're sitting across the mic from me. So
the short version of this. Short versions are always terribly hard.
I'm the word. Don't ask me, because an hour later. You're waiting to ask your next question.
Well, that's the thing they hate with me on the comedy mics is when they say do a 5-minute set and 20 minutes later they're like, get off the stage! Right. So the short version is that I was living in the UK and life wasn't really going very well. And I had a friend of mine suggest that I could teach in China. without needing a teaching degree.
Right,
I
just a regular
needed to
degree.
So I decided that was. It sounded good. It sounded like a new opportunity, a fresh start, which again is something I felt like I needed to have.
Yeah.
And I did. I came to China, fell in love with the place. I'm now experiencing things and doing things that I never would have been able to do back in the UK.
Right. Well, that is a great way to start this. And again, I know you a little bit from Small World, and you already kind of, you among your comedian is how I know you from the world of comedy here in China, which is kind of there's a bit of a scene in Beijing as well as Shanghai, and you're one of the leading lights of that scene. So again, we'll get to this in some context.
Well, I'm currently one of the oldest lights in the scene.
Well, and you're 30, you said.
33.
Okay, well, I'm 51, so this is.
Well,
speaking of feeling old.
Well,
no, I'm not established. I'm not at all.
Running,
I'm the guy who can sit there once in a while and they wonder who let Grandpa on the stage. So, so as far as your story, so where did you grow up? We'll do a little bit of this, the kind of the geographical background, and then we'll get into the more existential journey of this. But yeah, where are you from, Nick? So and we're drinking iced coffees in the background, so if you hear this occasionally, that's what's happening. Enjoy.
I was born in London, so that seems to be the answer to every Chinese question. Where are you from?
Right.
London. I only actually lived there till I was 2. Then I moved north to a place called Oldham near Manchester, quite close to where my parents grew up. They're both from the sort of middle to northern areas of the UK. I then, when I was 5, moved to a county called Norfolk, or East Anglia. Very, very rural, very, very small towns. I grew up in a town where there was only 1,000 people,
and that's like farmland, right? I mean,
farmland, fishing land. Ours was a fishing port.
Okay, nice.
And I mean, it wasn't even big trawlers. It was catching crabs and lobsters. It was a very small.
You're calling it a port is. Yeah. Technically correct, but you're not going to pull in like the Princess Cruise ship.
No. It would probably get to the edge of the port and ground itself. It was a very small harbour. Beautiful. Yeah. Absolutely beautiful. I could go cycling for miles and miles and miles and not even see another person. And it was very peaceful, very beautiful place to grow up. But yeah, living in a town of 1,000 people, it was very nice, but you were limited on some of your freedoms. Okay. There's a saying in Norfolk, it's like, I came from such a small town that if I ever forgot what I was doing, someone else could tell me.
Okay. So there's nowhere to sort of have your personal, you have no personal space. And no personal. There's probably space to be found, but there's no psychological space.
Yeah, I didn't feel constricting. Yeah, but it was like it would take you 45 minutes to walk 100 meters because everyone would see you and go, "Hello, hi, okay. How are you? You all right? Yeah, I'm good. Yeah, you off to the shops? Yeah, I'm off to the shops. Walk another 3 steps. Oh, hi, how are you? Oh, hello." And it wasn't a bad experience.
Sure,
it was lovely. It was that
It sounds very
sense of community.
It sounds like the quaint experience that some people wish they could have if they're fed up with the big city.
I'm actually taking my my husband back to.
Spoiler alert! We're gonna get there too.
Taking my husband back for Christmas this year.
Oh, and I'm hoping first time he's been there.
This is going to be his first time in the UK. And I'm hoping to give him like the true quaint Christmas time in Scotland and the local community experience for New Year's in Norfolk.
Wow.
And that'll be exciting, and I'm hoping that I can give him a real magical time.
That sounds pretty great. So you came from this this sort of bucolic-ish countryside, seaside port location, and where everybody knew your name. Yeah, and I
was on the lifeboat crew and doing stuff like that.
Where'd you kind of go from there?
So unfortunately, the downside with living in a town that small, in a place where the industry is basically fishing, but the fishing industry is being limited by our own government. We ended up having to do a lot of tourist work.
Okay.
So the main economy for that place was tourist work, which is seasonal. So you had your seasonal work, and then the rest of the year you'd be unemployed, or you had like support work or care work.
Right. Like an old age home or something like that.
Yeah, old age homes, loads of old age homes. Because the funny thing
It's probably a nice place to retire.
Well, that was the silly thing. With Wales next to the sea, people would move there to die, and then like it so much they didn't.
Oh, okay.
So it wasn't unusual to meet 100-year-old people there.
Wow.
There was we had
cool
like
for them.
Yeah, we had a cottage hospital, and they'd have like a day centre where the 60 and 80-year-old people would come, and then there was an old woman, I can't remember her name, but she was 114, serving teas and coffees to the 80-year-olds.
So she was the
She was
outlier.
the spry, like...
That's crazy.
Yeah, and she just kept going. She loved the place so much. She's like, well, I came to die, but I'm not ready to yet. I'm just going to keep going.
How long had she been there? Did she move when she was like in her 80s? She might have been there like 35 years or something crazy.
Yeah,
that's amazing.
Just loved the place and kept going.
Wow, that sounds like an advertisement for it, frankly.
Yeah. Well, we need some more tourists to help boost our economy.
Right. We'll try to see if they have like a tourism link we can put in the show notes for people. Yeah. But so your opportunities were very limited. And what did you want to be as a? Again, you're coming from you're in this place that's kind of your incubator of who you can be, what your possibilities are, and carbon dating. You would have had the internet, but of course it's not what it is like it is now. I
think we had.
I mean, you had the real early version. That's what I'm saying. That's what I was trying to do the math in my feeble brain. Is you had the earliest version of the internet when you were like a kid. So what were you starting to think about, or was it really just exploring as you went?
Yeah, I mean, for me, a lot of my friends joined the military because that seemed to be the logical.
Like the way out.
It was the way out from that sort of tourist town. Some people found themselves a regular job, like working in the fish and chip shop.
Sure.
But a lot of people were just like, if they couldn't find a job, then military seemed to be the obvious employer. Right. So I had a lot of my class friends, they joined the army. I had aspirations of joining the army as an officer in the tank regiment, but didn't quite qualify for that. Okay. So I ended up joining the Royal Navy instead as a normal rating. So yeah, I joined the Royal Navy expecting a 22-year career, and that. Obviously, as you can guess, I'm in China.
Yeah, we're here now.
33, it didn't quite go to plan.
Well, I mean, let's talk about that a bit. I mean, so again, I know from our previous conversation about this, some of the details, and you said that you wanted to sort of discuss how your career ended because you think it's useful for you, and it also could be helpful for other people in a way. Yeah. Well, what was sort of the arc of your experience in the Navy?
So I joined the Royal Navy in 2004. Now, I joined thinking I was bisexual, possibly, or heterosexual, but not really bothered if I was being touched by a guy.
Yeah, you hadn't kind of figured it out yet.
Yeah, because coming from a town where everybody knows your name and what you're up to...
you're not going to go explore so much, probably.
So I had to... I joined the Royal Navy, and... that's when I actually started having the freedom to find out who I was, and realised at the age of 19 I was gay. Quite difficult, obviously, because then I had to come out to my mum, my dad, and my girlfriend.
Wow.
Yeah, that was certainly an interesting conversation.
How long had you been with the girl?
I'd been with the girl for about 4 months, but it was one of those relationships where I hadn't wanted a relationship. I hadn't tried to be in a relationship, but it was like friends and family. Oh, you look so good together. Oh, you look amazing. And next thing you know, you're in a relationship.
Right.
It's, I suppose, the British version of an arranged relationship.
Right.
You look good together. Oh, well, we're in a relationship. Yeah. I think a lot of my relationships with women, that's how they started. I was in a relationship wondering how the hell that happened. So
I think women who dated me might feel the same way. No,
possibly.
but so was it? Thank you. Was it? Well, I mean, so was it? I mean, this has been a while ago, but I saw your face as you told me just. I mean, how did your folks take it?
I would have to say I am probably very lucky.
Okay.
I am very lucky because, well, my father was quite typical, quite confused. He said that he didn't understand why I was gay because I liked women too much. And he just didn't seem to comprehend.
He wasn't mad. He was just...
He wasn't angry,
just didn't understand
confused.
it.
Yeah, he was confused. My mum was excellent. She was absolutely amazing. I'm very close to my mum anyway. I've always had a close relationship with her, which is why it made it so scary to tell her.
Sure.
Because I was worried I was going to disappoint my best friend, which was my mum. And she said, "Son, I will always love you because you are my son. Whatever you do, whatever you choose, I'm always going to be there for you. But at least now I have the daughter I always wanted."
So comedy runs in the family.
Yeah.
Nice.
And I mean, it was just the perfect line to
That's
sort of...
so great.
To break that, because I was so ready to cry.
Oh, it had to be crazy tension.
I'm a terrible crier.
Okay.
Like, show me any movie where there's a beautiful moment or a happy moment.
And the waterworks.
Like Pixar, Coco's, Remember
Pixar
Me.
is like programmed to make you a mess.
Oh, God, yeah. Sobbing like a baby. So, yeah, it was beautiful to have that joke and just sort of break the tension.
That's perfect. Got to give kudos to Mom for the timing on that one.
Well, I mean, my mum's always been a funny person. When she met my fiance at the time, or my husband now, she says, "Oh, I always knew you were going to have yellow fever." It's like, what? It's like, well, you were born with jaundice.
Wow.
Yeah. Wow, so apparently, I came out looking
working on
like
a few levels.
Bart Simpson. Yeah.
That's crazy. Wow. Mom's really got some deep references. That's not like that.
So, and I suppose that's
a good misdirection.
That's one of my comedy targets, is to be as funny as my mum.
Sounds like a good goal from what you're telling me. I mean, again, I think you're very funny, and that's probably why I wanted to have the chat. But that's pretty good. That's a good basic. So that went better than expected, which is good. But you're in the Navy,
but I'm in the Navy.
Not the most convenient situation.
No, because in the Royal Navy. I know that obviously everyone's heard the American Navy
stereotypes of American Navy is like, the
American Navy's village people recruitment.
Disco ball in the mess hall.
Yeah.
My Navy
and I have had that
song kill me.
Sung to me so many times.
Okay.
As soon as I mention I served in the Royal Navy.
I'm in the Navy. We're in the Navy.
Yeah, every time. But the reality of the fact is, until the year 2000, it was illegal to be gay in the Navy.
Okay.
And under naval law, the fastest way to be out of the Royal Navy was to say you were gay.
Oh, okay.
And you'd be out the door the same day.
Wow, no kidding.
Yeah, it was the fastest way out the door.
Huh.
So
if you had enough, that was your ticket out.
Yeah. And in fact, they would also send naval police officers undercover to local gay bars to see if they recognised any of the sailors in the gay bars.
Okay.
So, and that was just 4 years before I joined that stopped.
I see.
It took the Royal Navy because it's a very traditional service. Mm-hmm. So they did stick to tradition. And so I joined after only 4 years of equality.
Sure.
And there were people that remembered the good old days before inclusiveness.
Yeah.
There were a couple of times where I had to, serving on a submarine, I had to go and see the Equal Opportunities Officer. Mm. So I was stuck on a submarine for 3 months solidly.
Wow.
On a patrol, and would then have to be stuck in a tube full of male seamen.
Yeah.
Pun intended as well.
I assume that was...
But no, it was true. There was an all-male crew.
Yeah.
And there were a couple of times that I had to speak to the Equal Opportunities Officer because I was out. Yeah. A lot of my gay colleagues in the Royal Navy were not out. They didn't come out. for fear of
of ostracization.
But I was out and I had to speak to the Equal Opportunities Officer a couple of times because they were worried I was being bullied, which I didn't actually notice. Of course, funnily enough, the Equal Opportunities Officer having to be the only other black member of crew.
Okay.
So the only black member of crew. Sorry.
Right, but the only but the an obvious minority in terms of
it was a smidgen racist, but yeah.
Wow. Yeah.
But
as far as the higher,
I think, to be honest, when he told me he was the Equal Opportunities Officer, it gave me a look of like, yeah, I can't believe this bullshit even.
He knew what was up.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's so you're there and it's not great, and I understand that.
But that's the thing; it was great.
Okay. I meant the situation. I mean, dealing with that was not great.
The dealing with that was not great, but they commonly refer to the military service as having brothers in arms.
Right.
And it felt like I know that some of the guys were a bit funny about me being gay, but I also know that if shit hit the fan, can we swear on this?
We already have. Yes, I'll just put the little E on there for explicit. Yeah. No, but just tell people.
Yeah. If shit hit the fan,
I gave up on bleeping years ago.
We could
they were absolutely going to have your back. Totally.
Yeah.
I have a lot of friends in the military. I did not, but
and it's a very strange relationship.
Yeah.
And I mean, I almost feel like you had a closer trust than you would have with members of your own blood family.
Okay.
It's very weird to explain. It's like, I mean, obviously, I loved my family more than anything.
Sure.
But I would trust my Royal Naval crewmates more than some of my own family. It was the strength of trust.
Right, and you had that training together.
Yeah.
And you knew.
You went through experiences.
You went through that stuff, yeah. Those kind of bonding things, that's really powerful.
But unfortunately, I was suffering with a problem. And the problem is that I had numerical dyslexia, which is a condition where your numbers get jumbled and you have trouble seeing numbers or calculating or doing numerical things in your head.
Right.
But we didn't find this out until after I joined the Royal Navy. My mum had spoken to every school I'd gone to and said, this boy's probably got dyslexia, test him. And they were all like, no, he can't have dyslexia.
Did you have problems in maths and things that required numbers?
Handwriting was particularly difficult. Number recognition, times tables.
Sure.
Can't remember times tables at all.
Yeah. Every
time I have to do a multiplication, I have to work it out.
Right.
So, and it was that sort of problem. So my mum said to every school, it's like, oh, this boy has dyslexia, test him for dyslexia. And they kept saying, no, he can't have dyslexia, he's too intelligent. And it was,
right.
And they didn't understand
that those things are unrelated.
There's difference, because what dyslexia is you're very good at some things and very bad at other things. So obviously the common dyslexias that you would experience are the things with literature. So people that are have trouble with literature or reading and that stuff is the ones that commonly get labelled.
Right.
And the annoying thing about dyslexia is, first of all, it was never understood, but now it's overused as an excuse.
Okay.
Because I didn't want to be labelled as dyslexic so that I didn't have to do stuff.
Right. It was a legit thing for you.
I wanted to be labelled as dyslexic so I could have coping mechanisms developed.
Okay.
And it's a thing that was quite sad at the time for me, and I don't think it's got that much better in the education system.
Okay.
It's gone the other way. It's gone too much. Like, people just go, I've got dyslexia, so I don't have to do this. Or I've got dyslexia, so I can't do this.
It's like all these bastards who look, I'm happy for people with their pets, but the comfort animal thing, what's the personal, the personal support animal. I mean, I know it's just such a joke in LA where people, like, it's an excuse to take a big, hairy,
flight.
shaggy dog into a fine dining restaurant. It's like, guys, look, I love your dog, but let's play with him outside and throw the frisbee. Let's not have him wagging his tail next to the table where I'm trying to eat.
I've got Samoyeds, so yeah. It's
well, you have some gorgeous dogs. No, I get it, but you wouldn't.
But the hair gets everywhere.
But you wouldn't plan to take that dog with you into like a fine dining restaurant.
No, I'd take it to a scummy diving restaurant.
There you go. Yeah. Sweet. All right, I'm down with that. we can agree to to get along here.
I mean, it's no. Every time I wake up, I sort of yawn and then go. And I have
get a hairball.
Have to pull out random white hair out of my mouth.
Well,
so,
what did I do last night? Hey.
I get it.
That's funny. So not to digress too much on my aside, but so you, so people use it as an excuse.
Yeah, they use it as an excuse not to do anything.
Yeah.
And it's because the education system has told them it's like, yeah, that's fine. Okay, so you're dyslexic. You can have more time. You can have a computer. But they've not gone, okay, so you're dyslexic, so how can you do this?
Exactly. They're not
and
actually
try to put the effort in and work it out. Now, obviously, I don't want to be blaming the education system or blaming the teachers, because the problem is the whole system doesn't give the teachers enough support.
Right. They're doing the best they can.
Teachers do the best they can with such limited time and resources. And
it's kind of it's criminal in some cases, I think.
Yeah, it seems to be that obviously... with a capitalist government, they want to try and save as many outgoings as they can, so that people can profit that shouldn't really be profiting.
Copy that. So you had this. This was discovered in the Navy.
Yeah.
And numerical operations are part and parcel of probably most of the jobs you're going to deal with.
I was a data analyst.
Yeah, it's probably maybe the worst job to have this condition?
Quite possibly, yeah.
Possibly the worst.
My job, basically entitled. I'm gonna break Hollywood here, unfortunately. In a submarine movie, you always hear the submarine going ping, ping, ping. They don't do that,
right?
Because if they did that, everyone would know where they are.
Right. Of course.
So what an actual submarine does is it stays very quiet and it listens. So the sonar guys would be listening very, very quietly, and they'll go, we can hear something on a bearing of this. Then we get like a bearing, and then you'd have to do it again. So you've got to work, if you are a circle and you put a dot on that bearing, and then you have to put another dot and another dot. And then my job was to then do some trigonometry
to figure out where that
to
thing
work
is.
out how far away it is, which way it's going.
Got it.
And I would have to do things like cosines.
Yeah.
I'm 33. I still don't know what a cosine is.
But you somehow had to do it.
I had to
you
do
had
it
like
as
a formula
job.
and you filled in blanks somehow.
I can't remember what the formula
I can't
was.
read
but
that. I had AP calculus, but I can't remember the basic stuff.
I mean, I had shipmates that could just do it like that. It's like, all right, so it's do it. And we do something like calculating the changing of bearing rates. And I could calculate changing bearing rates. I used to do a beautiful graph.
Okay.
I was very good at graphing.
Okay.
But then calculating what the difference in bearing rate was completely useless. And sometimes it would be very high stress situations.
Yeah.
Because you would have an oil tanker or a cargo vessel charging at you doing like 20 knots. And it didn't know you were there.
Sure.
And you had to work out where it was and where it was going so that you didn't hit it.
Right.
And it was terrifying.
Wow.
And so we had to sort of do very difficult maths under very difficult situations. And unfortunately, I burnt myself out. Yeah. And I was desperately trying to do this job that I couldn't do. And even my husband nowadays doesn't understand how I say I can't do maths. Yeah. And they just don't seem to understand it. It's like, you can do the drills, you can practice, but your brain just doesn't accept the normal way of teaching. That you have to be taught it a different way. So, I ended up burning myself out, and on 2006, December the 17th, I woke up and burst into tears for 2 hours. I was supposed to be on duty on the submarine, guarding it alongside, because obviously when you're on the submarine, that's 3 months that you have to have your game face on.
Right.
You can't. You don't have the luxury of having a nervous breakdown at sea.
Sure.
Because you can't get off. You can't go and visit a hospital. You can't have some respite. Yeah. You've got to be there doing your job for 3 months. Right. But when I was alongside,
so in port, basically,
in the military base. Yeah.
Okay.
I woke up one morning and I just burst into tears for 2 hours, and it was like, I can't do this anymore. And I couldn't cope. I had to call up my sort of command, I suppose you would say supervisor,
the commanding officer.
Not my commanding officer, the one under that.
Got it.
So leading hand.
Got it.
And I basically just I called him in tears, and he was just like, "Oh shit," because he hadn't been trained on how to deal with this.
His job is not.
I mean, it was his job.
Well, I mean, his responsibility, but he probably didn't have the training to be like a psychological counselor,
with a 20-year-old guy just crying down the phone, snot bubbles popping on the receiver.
Wow.
Oh, it was grim. But I went to the psychiatrist, went through the naval psychiatrists and psychologists, and they diagnosed me with situational depression and situational anxiety.
Right.
It got to the stage, I once had to go to the submarine office, which was next to where the submarines were moored up, and just seeing a submarine, I could feel a panic attack.
Oh, because
I had the horrible feeling that they were going to try and make me go back on the submarine.
Yeah.
It was an irrational fear, but it was like I thought they were going to try and get me back on the submarine.
Right.
And then they were just going to shut the hatches and go. And I was going to be stuck on the submarine for another 3 months. And I honestly had like a small panic attack on the way there. Yeah. And they just said, look, it's not helping you being in the Royal Navy. You can't help us being in this condition.
Exactly.
So I was given an honourable discharge, which was obviously very nice of the Royal Navy.
Yeah.
But because I'd only been in the Royal Navy for 3 years, I didn't get any aftercare.
So no medical benefits at
all?
No
medical discharge, no retraining to go back into civilian life. I was just gates open, off you go. And that was it. And I was just left there for floating. And it was weird. I felt like I was floating in a pool.
Yeah. In
a swimming pool where everyone's got out and you're just floating in the middle, thinking, right, what do I do now? It's as if I was floating in a swimming pool but had forgotten how to swim.
Okay.
And didn't know which way to go.
Couldn't see like a clear
Couldn't work out where the edge was. Yeah. Couldn't work out which way I was supposed to go. Couldn't work out how to get there.
Right.
I was just floating. And I suppose when describing it was quite serene. And it kind of was, because of going from like depression and anxiety to the relief of not having to do the job.
Had to be some kind of a release or a relief, like you said.
It was a sigh, and you were just floating. But then there was also the sort of thing of like, now what do I do?
Yeah.
Because I thought I was going to be doing that for 22 years.
Sure.
I thought I was going to follow in my uncle's footsteps. I had two uncles that were in the Royal Navy.
Okay.
And they were career naval ratings. And they were both in it for their full lives. In fact, one of them then worked with a civilian contractor afterwards for the Royal Navy. So he was still connected in the Royal Naval life afterwards.
Wow.
So I thought that was where I was going to be.
Yeah.
And after 3 years, just be like, oh, shit, now what?
And you liked, other than that aspect, I mean, you had this band of brothers, and there are lots of parts of it that you liked. And
but
so
again, it was that as soon as I left, that was it.
Yeah.
Those band of brothers continued.
Sure.
And I never even spoke to any of them again.
Really? You don't have any friends from that day?
No, I mean, I lost all of those links and those contacts. And,
wow.
And that was it. I was just alone.
Wow. Well,
that's how it felt. I wasn't alone though, because I had my family.
But your experience of it is what it was.
It's how it felt.
Yeah, that is what it was for you. It's also, all our experience is subjective. Yeah. I mean, there's no objective reality.
I mean, obviously, I had
other than if an arm is broken. Like you can observe a physical thing in an agreed upon space time, but your experience of it is always subjective.
Yeah. So obviously I did have family, and I did have friends and a civilian friends. But yeah, it was peaceful but scary at the same time.
Yeah.
So I was living with a guy that I met shortly before I left. And we were together living in his parents' house, and I was trying to find a job.
Yeah.
It was also around about the same time that the UK recession hit.
Great timing.
Yeah. So there weren't any jobs. So we were living together. We got engaged because obviously that's a perfectly logical decision to make when you're
in
not
a great
fully
place,
stable.
Sure. Totally ready for that.
Yeah, early 20s, got engaged, and he. I'd love to say that he was my anchor, the light of my life.
That was kind of the idea. Hopefully,
that's the kind of the idea.
I was going to make the plan, but
no,
not the reality.
Yeah, I think if I've got one stage show I'm working on, which is called "Don't Take That Tone with Me," but the second one is probably going to be called "Not the Original Plan."
I like it.
Yeah. So, and I think that again was not the original plan because he was with me. Now, I don't want to say that he was with me because I had credit cards, and I don't want to say that he left me because my credit cards had left out and ran out. But the timing was round about that time scale.
There's a correlation.
There was a correlation.
Yeah.
I mean, if you're one of believing in conspiracy theories, you could possibly say that he was with me, and when the money ran out, he wasn't with me anymore.
That might be a stretch. No, I think possibly that might.
But
I'm guessing that might be accurate.
He broke up with me, and he basically said, "I want to stay friends." Mm-hmm. And I'm not ready to get married. I'd like us to be together for a little bit longer before we do this. Okay, fine, cool. I'm young. I want to have sex with other people. And it's like, okay, fine. And then he met a guy who'd sold his house, had £90,000 in the bank, and he moved to Cambridge, and I never saw him again.
Okay.
And
so maybe there's a correlation. We're thinking.
Yeah.
Sorry, man.
Yeah. No.
Obviously, it's worked out. It's worked out. We cutting to the present. It's worked out. But that sure sucks in the moment.
Yeah. And I think it was. Oh God! I just remembered something else. It was actually only a few months after my mum had attempted her 6th attempt at suicide.
Oh.
And so again, it was at a time when my mental health wasn't in the best place.
Oh. Well, you hadn't mentioned that previously.
No,
so.
Sorry, I hadn't mentioned that. It's not.
Well, I mean,
it's
not
definitely.
Really, it's not yours.
It's one of those things that it's an important story to tell, but I'm never sure if it's my story to tell.
Well,
basically, she's fine now.
Okay.
She had a problem that never got diagnosed correctly. And she's living a perfectly happy, healthy life now.
Right.
But at the time, there wasn't the proper assistance because, again, National Health Service was being run into the ground. But and these things weren't seen.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was quite a turbulent event at the time, and then obviously a few months later, him leaving me. Was quite difficult. But again, it just seemed to be this time where I was back in that dark swimming pool. Yeah. And then going...
kind of free floating, like drifting in a bit, trying to figure out...
what the fuck do I do now?
Yeah.
But this time I was only there for a short period.
All right.
And it was... I think it was just sort of... it was weird. I was with him for a year.
Yeah.
And I was depressed for about 20 minutes.
They normally say that it's like the inverse. For every month you're with somebody, it takes 2 to 3 to get over it, but it was like a hyper accelerated inverse algorithm.
Yeah, no, because I met with my best friend. We got hammered on rosé wine. I think we might have smoked something that was probably not legal at the time. But no, we did that, and then I was just like, yeah, I'm such a silly idiot. Why did I even get in that relationship in the first place?
Yeah, that instant clarity is nice when that works out.
So that was all right. Weirdly enough, about 3 years later, I was in a relationship with a Chinese guy for 2 months, and he broke up with me saying that he didn't feel the same way I did, and that devastated me even more.
Okay.
That was a short relationship, but I fell so hard for this guy that that one was howling with cry.
Wow.
I mean, obviously, the where your voice starts hurting, because you've been crying that loudly, and that. Honestly, I think the neighbours in the flat that we were in thought I was murdering animals or something.
Oh no!
It was painful, and I don't think I'd ever cried that hard.
Well, I
mean, it's certainly a healthy thing to do. It gets everything out.
I'm not saying this to change the subject at all. I'm actually saying this to I know that you have. There's a lot that happened between free floating and then here. Let's get you to China. Was that Chinese guy in China, or was that
No, that was before China.
So moving
that was shortly before China.
Okay, so let's kind of pick it up from there and get you into China, because I want to make sure to leave plenty of time to talk about what you're doing now.
Okay, well, I'll try and short story.
But this is all interesting, and we can go there out if you need to. I'm just saying let's.
So we'll try and speed up from the Royal Navy then. So I was left from the Royal Navy. And basically after that, I did a job as a barman. I did that for about a year. That was when I was still with my first fiance. Then I became a support worker for people with learning difficulties and mental health issues, but they were also elderly. And I was working in a private care home with about 10 residents. It was a very good company, JRCS, and they really looked after them. I was there for a year because the problem is one of the tenants would attack the staff because he had no verbal communication. He would do hand gestures, and if he didn't think he was being listened to, he would get emotionally aroused, which is the technical term. And he would just attack whoever was in the way. And as one of the biggest members of staff, I was regularly put in the way so we could get the other tenants out the way. And
you get tired of being a punching bag.
Yeah, basically a scratching bag. He would scratch himself, and then he would scratch other members of staff, and obviously having to panically put alcohol disinfectant on open wounds to prevent any hepatitis. And you're like, it was quite unnerving. So after a year, I was like, I don't want to do this anymore. So I had a friend of mine say that he was going to be a labourer in the Olympic Village, and he was going to help with carpentry. And he's like, I was so ready for a get out. And he was like, tell me when the contract's ready. He's like, okay, I'm going to sign the contract in the next week.
This is in London?
This is in Norfolk. The carpentry job would have been in London.
Right.
But the care home was in Norfolk.
I understand. You would have been going to London for this job.
Yeah.
I'm trying
Land of milk and honey and opportunity.
Yes, exactly. Trying to make sure that we have the carbon dating of the right Olympics. So.
This was the London Olympics, and he said, I'm going to be signing the contract next week. And I gave him my 2 weeks notice. And I got to my 2 weeks notice, and I said, okay, when do we start? And he went, start what? It's like, start the job in London. He's like, oh no, the contract never got signed. It's like, you fucking idiot.
Yeah.
And I'd voluntarily left a job.
Right, so you couldn't get any kind of unemployment
and I couldn't get
unemployment
benefits and stuff like that because I thought I was going straight to a new job.
Oh, jeez.
And it's, again, look before you leap. Oh, idiot.
I'm seeing a pattern, Nick, but anyway,
not the original plan.
Not the original plan, yes.
So
that could be the Brendan Davis story too, frankly.
Yeah. I think it could be so many people's plans.
Yeah.
And I think we need to learn as people that Yeah, okay. Have an original plan.
Sure.
But be ready because it's not going to be the one you're ending on.
Have a plan and be ready and comfortable to improvise.
Yeah. So
comfortable is optional.
That's the advice
it's not
for
that
everyone.
Comfortable that really most of the time. No. Yeah, because people see the adventures what seems like the adventures I've had, and some of them are adventures, and some of them are, it's yeah. Well, I'll tell you, people have heard enough about me and my adventures so far on this show. Let's keep going with yours.
Right. Okay. So I was. Where did we get to? Yeah, I was supposed to be going to the London Olympic Village to help with the carpentry as an unskilled labourer, and that job disappeared. And being a 22, 21-year-old, I was too prideful to go back to my old job and beg for.
Yeah. Just kidding.
Please let this old man scratch me again.
Right.
Yay, I'm back.
Yeah.
No, so I moved to Glasgow.
Yeah.
Which was 700, 900 miles away from where I lived, and my hometown.
Yeah.
But that was where I was based with the Royal Navy.
So you knew the city.
I knew the city, and I had a couple of friends up there, civilian friends.
Right.
So I moved in with my best friend Alexander McGregor, or Xander.
Very Scottish name, as we were saying earlier.
Yeah.
Yes.
And I lived on his sofa for about a year. Did things to his sofa, sort of bought new sofas. I think I was a good influence in his life because he needed a gay man to sort of help him become from a teenager to an adult man.
Okay.
Like, we really should do something about this house. Like,
That's funny.
But it was also fun because he helped remind me to loosen up a bit.
Yeah.
Help me go back from being ex-military to
reintegrate you to civilian life.
Yeah. So we helped rehabilitate. Well, we helped rehabilitate, but it's never going to be part of the 12-step program.
Copy that. Yeah. You had an alternative method.
Yeah. Well,
that 13th step is
was fatal. Yeah. we created a drink in a heavy metal bar once called Satan's Coffee.
Oh, okay.
Because we're in the heavy metal scene, and of course, you would name a cocktail that.
Sure.
It involved 7 shots. So you'd get a pint glass, and in that pint glass, you put half a pint of apple juice.
Okay.
Because it was a tall drink.
So that was the mix.
That was the mixer, yeah. And then in that, you would put a shot of vodka, white rum, Maduri, apple sours, Jägermeister, Sambuca, and a black aftershock.
Wow.
So that was every different...
I can't even imagine what that's like. Did it taste good?
Weirdly enough, yes.
Okay. What did it... How would you...
You only ever drank one.
I can imagine.
And the bar after 2 refused to is like... Yeah. We did it twice, and then the bar was like, we're not pouring this for you, and if you fall over...
Yeah.
You're getting barred. And we were like, no, that's fine. So we would drink one of these to start the night.
Wow.
And then we would go somewhere else because we didn't want to get barred.
I see.
So that was our starting drink. And then I would drink something called WKD Blue, which is this very luminous blue drink, which is very popular in the 90s.
Okay.
I don't know if it's still available.
I don't even know of it, yeah.
But
so you were...
pour an aftershock in that as well. And it would turn a beautiful purple colour.
Wow.
And I'd be drinking those all night.
That's the cinnamon liqueur, right? Aftershock?
Purple aftershock.
Is that red?
No, the red
liqueur?
one's cinnamon. I can't remember what flavour the purple one was.
But aftershock,
it just tasted
aftershock has a cinnamon thing, or am I mistaken? Because I don't
some of them do.
Okay,
I think they had the different flavours because there was like a cherry. And
okay.
I can't remember what the purple one was.
We're making people thirsty listening.
Yeah. Or hungover.
Like triggering a headache. Yeah. So a bit of drinking around Glasgow and finding thyself a little more, maybe.
Finding thyself and also trying to find a job.
Yeah.
Because in Norfolk, as I said, you had care jobs or you had tourist jobs. Mm-hmm. And that was pretty much the whole county, was that, or farming jobs. And I didn't think I'd make a good farmer. So I moved to Glasgow because it was a city I knew.
Right. And
I tried to find jobs. But the recession was still a double dip recession.
Yes.
Who knew that was possibly going to happen?
Who knew?
Excellent. So I was there with no job prospects, trying to sort of get a job, and it was like, no, we don't need any more. We're not hiring. There was so much competition for every new job.
Right.
And eventually I ended up landing in a job in a security company based in Glasgow. And I started off working football events, just wearing a high-vis jacket, going like, okay, coming this way, walking through this gate,
Right.
make a line. And then I got my door supervisor license, because this was after the licensing was brought in and you had to be a licensed door supervisor. And I worked in a couple of bars and clubs, and I worked in a casino. But work wasn't constant. We worked on a 0 hours contract, which means
Nothing guaranteed.
we will pay you per hour for the work you do, but if you don't work, you don't get any wages.
Right.
So I was getting 2 shifts on a weekend at the casinos, which were like 12-hour shifts, but that would have only been like 24 hours of work, which is not enough to get by.
Right.
So I was working 36-hour shifts.
Yeah, you mentioned how did that work for you?
So basically, I would go to the casino at 6 p.m. on a Friday, and I'd work till about 8 p.m. on a Friday, and I'd work till 6 a.m. on the following morning, Saturday morning. I'd then walk up to the office to help them supervise whatever football match they needed or whatever event was going on, and I would be there, sort of working the football matches, trying not to fall asleep. And then I would go back to the casino and work another 12-hour shifts. And after that shift had finished, I'd go home to bed.
Wow.
So it was 36 hours solid working.
That's
because I
amazing.
got nothing from Monday to Friday. There was no Monday to Friday.
So you had to totally just kill it for 2 days.
2 solid days
nonstop.
of working just so I could afford to have food.
To sleep
and
on the
pay
couch
rent.
and drink
Yeah.
and
Eventually, I met a boyfriend who I was living with for 2 years, and I worked in an office, and things got slightly better. But after 2 years, we broke up. It was amicable. It wasn't going to work.
Yeah.
He was probably my first Asian boyfriend. There is a name for me.
Okay.
I am classified as a rice queen.
Okay.
Which is
So is that a
so that's a white guy who likes Asians.
okay. So that's the gay version of the yellow fever that they would try to pin on a
Yeah.
straight guy. that
So
likes Chinese girls.
a gay guy who likes Asians is a rice queen. A gay Asian who likes white guys is a potato queen. And a gay Asian who likes Asians is called sticky rice.
That's pretty specific.
Yeah, because the gay community is really good at being politically correct.
Sure. That's why we're known. That's what you're known for.
Yeah.
So you're in this kind of longer term relationship with a Chinese guy, and when did moving to China really get onto your radar? Let's get you here.
Yeah, so I after that relationship, I was single, and I was living in a housing association house, and I was still working the offices, but I was having to make decisions between, do I pay my rent or do I eat food?
Right, that's not a good place.
No. So I was feeding myself with about £10 a week.
Wow.
So, and it was, well, I would say feeding, it was...
Yeah.
It was 17 pence pot noodles with a 7 pence cup of soup in it just to give it some flavour.
Yeah.
And that was pretty much my diet. I had to ride a push bike to work because I couldn't afford the bus ticket. And I was sleeping on a beanbag on the floor because I couldn't afford a bed. Yeah. And I was living in a house with no flooring, no carpet because I couldn't afford carpets. No TV because I couldn't afford, and I was basically just existing.
Yeah,
wasn't living; I was existing.
Right. This is a different version of the free floating.
Yeah, and I just looked at my life and went, "Why the hell am I doing this?"
Yeah,
I had these aspirations to be an officer in the military,
Right.
or to have a successful naval career, and now I'm sleeping on a beanbag on the floor.
And you're still trying to reconcile.
And just trying to work out what the hell went wrong.
Yeah.
And somebody says, well, look, you don't have a teaching degree, but you can teach in China.
Okay.
As if you do your teaching English as a foreign language course.
Sure.
So I did that, and I did that during nights when I was working nights at the offices, because we do a patrol of the building,
Okay.
and then you'd have like an hour
to
do a bit of coursework.
Nice.
And I got my teaching qualification as teaching English as a foreign language, and I looked online, and they says, come to Beijing.
Wow.
And I was like, okay. So I said, I'd like to come to Beijing, please. And they went, how soon can you get there?
Yeah.
I was like, well, if I sell everything, maybe a week. And they went, okay, we'll see you in a week's time.
Wow.
And that was it. And I had to sell everything. I sold the beanbag.
Yeah, okay.
So I slept on the floor for a couple of days. Well, sleeping on the beanbag, I was practically sleeping on the floor anyway. But I sold the beanbag, I sold my camera, I sold everything that I could try to sell, commemorative coins, whatever shit that I could find in my drawer.
Bring as much money as you could.
Yep. I sold my corset, which was quite upsetting. But, I sold all of these different things, and I compacted my life into one bag, which has since exploded and is no longer alive. And in fact, it exploded when I arrived in China, which is quite weird. So,
like before you even, like, it fell apart at the airport or en route
it
to your...
it ripped, it seems, at the airport.
That's crazy.
Just before,
like you,
it was
like the metaphor of like
got you here,
just made it. It's like you're on your own.
Yeah.
So you're like bundling up. You're grabbing your stuff.
Yeah. No, the stuff was still in the bag.
But the bag was
but it was being held on by the interior lining. The outside had burst.
Wow.
And I was sort of cradling the bag and sort of bringing this corpse of a bag to my first flat in China. And it was like, I've got you here. Yeah. I can't take you any further. And it just exploded.
So the writing could not have been clear on the wall.
Oh, yeah.
It's like, you make this work.
Yeah. Well, no. It was like, it's yeah, I can't go any further. And
right. That's what I'm trying to say.
Yeah. And that was it. So I was in China, and I just made that massive move.
And it's funny because, I mean,
with two words, Ni Hao and CHENG.
Wow. I was going to ask if you had any Chinese previous.
No. I'm still terrible at Chinese.
Oh, okay.
I still every time I get in a DD, get a what?
Oh, okay.
Or shimmies.
Oh, okay. I was giving you credit for yours being better than mine.
No, still even with a Chinese husband, I'm cack at Chinese.
Well, I have a Chinese girlfriend, and I'll get a Chinese girlfriend. I have a Chinese girlfriend. It's like she speaks English, which is how we're able to have a relationship, because we can speak using the other language. You know,
yeah,
it's
you
don't pick up. I mean, she, like, they're like things. I'm showing you things on a napkin, like things I learn. But I can't read the characters. I mean, I can't even see I can't tell.
I'll see if I can read the pinyin. Wu wei.
Yeah.
Chao.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's a couple of phrases that came up the other day. So you get here, and so you actually, I mean, a lot of people who take those jobs, a lot of times they are sending you to like the hinterlands. They're sending you out to like Guizhou province or something. And now my friends who were super fluent, that's what they did. Like they landed someplace and they spoke no English for 2 years. And then, so by God, they're fluent. They read, they write, they can do poetry in Chengyu, and you know, they sound like natives almost. But you landed in Beijing. So your job was in Beijing.
Yeah, I mean, originally,
the major city, the biggest.
Originally, I was like, I wouldn't mind going to Shanghai, wouldn't mind going to Shanghai because it's a bit more westernized.
Yeah, they're actually, Beijing's actually the third biggest city, but it's like the capital. So
and they were like, no, I think you should come to Beijing. And
nice.
All right, okay. So I came to Beijing, and I was sort of there. Didn't know anything. Didn't know what I should be expecting wages wise. It was just like, I'd back in the UK, I'd hit that big red emergency stop button. Said, stop the carousel. I want to get it off.
Yeah, yeah.
I want to start again. I want to go on a different ride.
Yeah.
And I just sort of went, no, I've had enough. Go, bye.
Yeah.
And I just left the UK.
Wow.
And just, that was it. Completely.
Because you got this job and they hooked you up with like the right visa and everything to be able to get here. And so you didn't have to shuffle around and you didn't have to improvise.
No, but it was still quite scary though a couple of times because
you can imagine.
The Chinese ethos that I found very quickly when I hear, or their favourite phrase is, "It's fine."
Right.
And as it's
kind of a catch-all.
Yeah, as a young guy who's just given up on his home and just moved across the world to be told, like,
is it fine?
It's fine. And it's like, so if you can give us your passport because we need to, like, you want my passport? No, I'm British. This stays with me.
Right.
They're like, no, it's fine. And I kept asking questions.
Like they wanted to hang on to it?
Yeah.
That's your job?
No, not at the job. To update visas.
Got it.
Yeah.
Oh, we have to take it from you and send it off.
Send it off to get all the paperwork dotted and crossed and teed for the
and that's how they do it.
Teaching book as well. You had the little brown book and it was like no, I'm in a strange country. I don't want you having my travel documents. The only thing that proves I'm British.
Right.
and they're like, no, it's fine. So that was quite scary at times. And
I've got a client who owes me money right now. That's it's fine. It'll be. Don't worry. Well, I'm not worried, but you need to pay me.
Yeah.
So.
And another the thing is when it's like, are you sure we should be doing it this way? You know, like, that's fine.
Well, if you don't know, you don't have a frame of reference for how it's supposed to go.
Yeah, I mean, one of the original companies I came with was an agency, and I will admit that perhaps I was in a school teaching under the wrong visa.
Yes, that's a thing that they've really started to. I know you're all legit now, so fortunately you can talk about it. But it's that's how a lot of people
originally when I came,
get here.
It was a bit more loosey goosey.
Right. They're really cracking down on that now.
Yeah. So, well, the thing is I luckily got fired from that first job.
Ah, okay.
I know it's bizarre when you say luckily got fired.
Yeah.
Again, not the original plan.
Yes. Yes. Again, the theme is consistent.
But the stupid thing is I got fired, and then through the Beijing comedy scene, because I'd started doing comedy, I met some people, and I says, "Oh, I'm feeling a bit crap now." And it's like, "What's wrong?" It's like, "I've been fired. I don't know what to do." And like, "I'll come to this school that I work at, and we'll give you an interview." I did an interview, and within a week, I had a better job.
Is that where you still work? Or?
And it's where I still work now, yeah.
Wow.
I'm not sure if I can plug it.
Yeah, you don't have to.
Muffy's Shanshan. Muffy's International Kindergarten.
Okay.
And they sorted everything out. They made sure it was all properly above board.
Nice.
I got healthcare as well.
Excellent.
I got a proper wage that was now equal to what I would be getting in the UK.
Okay.
And was looked after.
That's great.
And it's great. And it must be great. I've been with them now for 4 years. So
nice. Well, let's talk about, let's shift gears into comedy a bit. Because this is something you mentioned. Actually, we have another guest who's going to join us. Wait a second. Oh, shoot. We have somebody else in there. Hi, what's your name?
Ni hao, bitches. My name is Long Hu. I am a comedian in heels. And as you might guess, I'm gay. That's a technical term. If you've got one of us, it's a gay. If you've got two, it's the gays. And if you've got three, well, that's a gay pride.
Nice. And this is how my introduction to you was. Again, I thought you were 6.5 feet or taller because you were wearing these giant, sparkly, sequined high heels. Yeah. And so, again, we'll have a picture with the podcast blog, but you're a big, strapping English guy.
Yep,
masculine, stereotypical masculine type guy, and then you have for your stage character of Long Hu, you have these giant
shiny,
the biggest high heels,
sparkly shoes, and normally some sort of Chinese design fashion as well.
Right.
Love a bit of Chinese style.
And how did you decide? Were you doing comedy originally as this character, or were you just hi, I'm Nick, I'm from the UK, and
I
how are you guys
originally
doing?
started as Nick Barber because I hadn't got married and I was just there, and I sort of like, hi, I'm Nick Barber.
You're doing the usual.
Yeah, this is my life. And then I came to a Halloween show, and they said we should dress up, and I was trying to think, what would be a scary outfit for a comedy Halloween show? Well, I know how to wear heels, so I bought a pair of like 2-3 inch heels, stiletto red heels, because I thought, well, there's nothing more terrifying to a straight guy than a gay man in heels standing in front of him or standing over him. Because of course the front row didn't know if I was going to seduce them or fall on them. So
right. It's. I'm impressed that when we did the drunk debates a few weeks ago. Yeah. And then you left something in the room, and I'm like, do you want me to run and get that? And you go, no, I'm fine. You're clumping back in there.
Well, that's it. I'd progressed from like a 2-inch heel to I think I'm now on a 9-inch stiletto.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
How did you find those in China? You say Taobao? Okay.
Taobao. Well, Bao Pals, because I don't.
Okay.
I can't write Chinese enough to
don't
sort of
sprechen
work
Sie
it out.
Deutsch.
But use the English translation version Bao Pals.
So you
big ass shoes.
So okay. So you started as just Nick Barber, and you went to this Halloween, like you said, Halloween. So like a costume party.
Yeah, and I started wearing heels. So then it was Nick Barber wearing heels.
Yeah.
And then I think I had a particularly crappy day at work. And my Chinese name has always been Long Hu.
Okay.
Because I used my date of birth as my Chinese name.
Okay.
So I was born in the year of the tiger, and I was born in the month of the dragon, which is something I do in my bit because most people don't realise there's a month of the dragon, and I'm not going to tell you what it is because I still use that joke.
Okay.
But yeah, so I was born in the month of the dragon, so I originally was going to go Hu Long, but the children I was teaching at the time, I says, does this sound right? And they're kindergarten children, but they're fabulous level of English.
Okay.
They went, actually, it sounds better if you go Long Hu.
Yeah.
So
it does have a better ring to it.
Yeah. So I always had that Chinese
name. And Hu Long
name.
is close enough to Hu Tong that you'd be
possibly
disambiguating that for the rest of your Chinese life.
So I was always using that as my Chinese name, but I didn't use it on stage. And then I think after a while I'd had a particularly shitty time at work, and I got on stage and I did my first on-stage rant.
Okay.
And it was sort of this like, angry voice, you slags, traffic,
yeah.
And from that hyper masculinity sort of thing developed the character Long Hu, comedian in heels. And once that character had been established, it grew and it got bigger, and it started wearing the Chinese style fashion with the heels, and it started with the taglines like "Ni hao bitches, how the fuck are we?" which is how I start all my sets.
Right.
And I loved it because it was this way of smashing stereotypes, and that's one thing I love about Long Hu, because I get people to announce me just without gender, not because I'm non-binary, but because
but you're trying to set them up for a reveal.
Set them up for a fall,
you're trying to set up for a reveal here.
So
before they see you.
Yeah. So it's like, welcome onto the stage, Long Hu, comedian in heels. So they instantly think, in heels, it's going to be a woman. And then they see a bloke in heels. So they go, okay, it's a gay bloke. And they instantly, the preconception is that I'm going to get to the microphone and say something like, hi, how are you? And so I smashed that by doing my intro. I've heard that tone of voice
from you before, so other than as a joke.
Bitches. And again, it's like, so I had this preconception it was going to be a woman, and you broke it. I had this preconception that because you're gay, you're going to be camp.
Right.
And I broke it. To be honest, if I ever get my show off the ground, the stage show that I'm writing, and I could get it to America, I'd probably be sitting on stage in my heels in a wingback armchair like the one that you have in your apartment. We'll have to get a photo of that as well now.
Okay.
While stripping down a rifle or something.
Right, something that's like just definition of
ridiculously
super
masculine.
overly masculine activity. You'd be like feel like dressing a deer.
Yeah. Well, I'm not quite
I mean,
sure
maybe
if
a little gory, but yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I've got
The rifle's a
decent
good
knife
idea.
skills.
Rifle's a good idea.
Well, I'm into scuba diving, but trying to get a scuba diving kit on stage in heels.
Oh, God.
I'm just going to break an ankle doing that.
Well, if it's your show, you could have it on a dolly of some kind, and have it wheeled out.
Yeah. Oh, I'd also love to drive on the stage in my little tuk-tuk. I've got one of those.
Do you have one of those?
I've got an electric tuk-tuk, a granddad car. Yeah.
Oh my God, those are great. It's basically, well, people know what a tuk-tuk is. But yeah, it's like the little scooter that has a little enclosure on it.
Yeah. So this is a proper scooter. It's got doors, a windscreen, sunroof, roof,
nice.
built-in radio.
I was going to ask if you have stereo in there.
Yeah. It's got an electronic display speedo, so when you're stopped, you can you've got like a multimedia center. Huh. I mean, it's the screen's about as big as a phone screen.
Yeah.
But still, it's like,
it's what you
I've
need.
got a multimedia screen in my tuk-tuk. But I broke the chair on it a couple of years ago because I was leaning back and it just wasn't designed for my size.
Right.
So I was riding for about a year with no back to my chair.
Oh.
So I recently bought a new chair.
All right.
I bought a Sparco racing bucket seat chair.
Really?
Yeah.
No kidding.
So I've got this 30 kilometre an hour battery powered
with a race car seat.
With a race car seat in it.
That's awesome. That's
awesome. It kind of screams me.
That's so funny.
And I think my next thing is if I do break another pair of heels, I broke a pair recently and didn't think about this idea fast enough. But if I do break another pair of heels, I'm going to turn it into a spoiler.
Okay.
So I'm going to have
for the back of your bike.
Car, yeah. So
for the car.
Mount it to the roof of the car, so I've got like a racing spoiler that's being held
and
up
like
by
a sequined spike off the back. Somehow?
No. So basically, you've got the racing wing, but it's going to be held up by two stilettos. So you're going to mount the wing to the stilettos and the stilettos to the roof.
That's awesome.
Because again, I think that just screams. That's long.
It's easy to find yours. So where you parked?
It's the one with the stiletto mounted spoiler.
Stiletto heels.
In fact, if anyone's listening wants to get in contact with me about creating this,
you need like a craftsman. You need a craftsperson to help you craft the
someone who can
the louver, I think they call that.
Whatever the technical name
the fin, like the fins on the AC there.
Yeah. If someone can craft that and mount it to a pair of stilettos, or at least something that looks like my stilettos, then get in touch.
There's probably somebody. I think WeChat can help you with this.
Probably.
So I'm intrigued by this idea of the like the one man show.
Yeah.
Right. And so not the original plan is a great concept. You had another name earlier. Is that something
Don't
for
take
the
that
mic?
Tone with me.
Yeah. And I like that. I like that as well.
Because again, I think it also helps introduce Long Hu with the anger, but also I love linguistics. Mm. I do love linguistics, but it's quite difficult. My Chinese linguistics. Chinese has been the hardest language that I've ever done to try and learn.
Yeah, Chinese people, I mean, some do. I don't want to stereotype so much, but it seems like many of my friends, they're always just so surprised. Chinese is not that hard. You grew up speaking it.
Yeah.
That's why it's not hard for you. I mean, trust me, it's officially... It's in that category of the three hardest languages, according to like U.S. State Department, Foreign Service.
Yeah.
Chinese, Arabic, and Russian. The three hardest. Those are like the tier of the three hardest languages, right?
Okay, so I can say like a few words in quite a few languages. So I can say hello in Polish, dobranoc, jak się masz, dobre utro, because it's obviously good afternoon. I can say guten Morgen, guten Tag, guten Abend in German. I can say bonjour, bonsoir in French. Right. Obviously, these little tidbits from people I've met.
I have pieces like that too. From
Fijian.
I
learned Fijian because there was a couple of Fijian guys in the Royal Navy, so I learned a bit of Fijian, like Bulavinaka Vakadavatiko Asetako Oro, which is hello, how are you? And are you all right, gorgeous? which of course is something you need.
You got the basics, yeah.
I worked with Bulgarian people when I was working in the care home. Fantastic. The work ethic from those guys was amazing. I learned a bit of Russian when I was in the submarine service because, of course, we need to learn Russian.
Sure.
So, Здравствуйте, товарищ, which is hello, comrade. And then came to China, and it's like, ni hao? No, that's not right.
That's
ni hao.
Ni hao.
No, that's not right. Ni hao.
Yeah.
Ni hao.
Yeah.
No, you don't say ni hao, you say ni hao. So that, it sounds the same.
This is the bane of my existence. Yes.
So,
because I'm from the South, and we, it's. I know there was a moment you actually joked where you didn't. There's a thing that I haven't done as a joke on stage, but fat, expressive Southerners are often mistaken as gay. And I've got lots of, I'm straight but not narrow, but totally straight. But I'm big dude from the South, and so we're like, hey, and that's almost a stereotypical, like the official gay greeting as well.
Yeah.
It's like, hey, how you doing? And so there's that. There's like, hey. I mean, like all that, we all understand what that means.
Yeah.
No matter what the inflection, we all know what's being said.
Yeah.
But of course, in Chinese, it's a tonal language, and you said like 6 different things by saying that.
I actually once got slapped by the boyfriend I was with for 2 months. His mum slapped me around the back of the head once, which was funny.
Did you say something that came out really rude?
Well, he was Cantonese, not Mandarin.
That language kills me. I
8
can't.
tones.
Yes.
8 or 9.
Something like that.
Because it depends on which Cantonese person you speak to as to how many tones they have.
Yeah.
So, and I tried to ask for some duck in Cantonese because I practically said like "no sung yu," and it's "no sung yu nap," but nap has 2 main meanings.
Okay.
One means duck. One means rent boy.
And how is that?
So
whoever decided these things. Why are those like the parallel?
I have no idea. So I was dating her son and asked for a rent boy. So I got a clip around the ear for that one.
She cuffed you, as they say.
Yeah.
That's funny.
So languages and tonal language is certainly a difficult thing to deal with.
But so what are you driving toward this show idea? Because I think this is, again, knowing, and were nice enough. I mean, I have this bigger version of your story that we didn't even cover. You've had such a crazy ride so far.
Yeah.
And that seems like the right medium for you being a performer and you wanting to continue to perform. I mean, how much of a focus is this becoming for you as we talk about it? And I encourage you to do it.
I am starting to write a script of sets because normally what I do is I go on stage with some bullet points or at the moment now. I must admit, I am a little bit coasting. I'm guilty of that because a lot of my jokes are based on actual experiences.
Okay,
like I have a joke called "Dildo on a Train," which was something that genuinely happened to me, and I've so a lot of my jokes, like 70%, 80% of my material is life experiences.
So if you're
if
busy
I don't
working,
have a life experience, then I don't get any new material. So a lot of the time when I'm at open mics, I'm sort of practicing or doing the same old material.
Got it.
But it's trying to remember all the jokes that I've done over the last 4 years. After that 4 years of practice working out, does this fly? Is this a good enough joke? And putting it in the show. So I've sort of started with some things, and I'm trying to get all the jokes into one document, and then play about with where the jokes go to make a coherent story,
like a narrative arc of some kind.
It might not be chronological because as this podcast shows,
like an emotionally narrative. I'm a fan of non-linear narratives.
I definitely noticing on this podcast I'm not running in a linear fashion, but that seems to be me. I'm a fan of Doctor Who, so it's all timey-wimey.
Time is elastic. It's non-linear.
Non-linear, timey-wimey ball of noodles, I think he called it once. But yeah, so
this is something that you're working toward it. What would be kind of what would be like the lottery win outcome in that scenario for you?
In that scenario, I mean, I'd love to put it on in China because a lot of the material and a lot of the stories are from me being in China. But in China, there are restrictions to performances. You have to be cleared by the censor.
People have to go through it. Well, let me ask you. So, what? As much as you can talk about this, and then we're freely admitting that we're self-censoring to make this. But this is an international show, but to also make it play here and not get anybody's in trouble. Being a out gay man in China, how's that? That's my great question.
Okay, so the great question, and it is a great question.
I'm regular like Mike Wallace here with my perfect question.
So being gay in China is many different things, because being gay out in the street is fine. Being gay around young people and young Chinese people and modern Chinese people is fine. Being gay in front of the mums and dad generation is still a bit weird.
Yeah.
My husband had to come out 4 times to his mum.
Okay.
Before it was eventually accepted. And that again was because of the traditional views of she wanted her son to have children.
Right.
And it was only when we said, but we want to have children too.
So maybe you want to adopt or
that we eventually
or something.
Got acceptance.
Wow.
And she was really great about it once she did accept.
Okay.
And she's like, well, you're going to have to adopt pretty children then, because otherwise no one's going to believe they're yours.
Nice.
And it was a really nice way of her saying it.
I'm understanding how much of an arc that must be for her. That's like a nice thing.
Yeah, and on the wedding day, my husband made everyone cry because, well, he got a text message on the morning from the dad. And we didn't think the dad knew because the mum said, don't tell the dad. Just
like he wasn't going to come? Or he was going to come to a wedding and then not see a girl?
So he wasn't supposed to be coming. The mum was going to take a trip to Beijing.
Oh, okay.
And we weren't to tell the dad.
Oh.
But then she couldn't come because he'd got like an infection from an operation in his leg, gout or MRSA or something like that. So she had to stay home and look after him. Oh. So she couldn't come. And there was a text message from the dad the day of the wedding to my husband. And he didn't tell me. No information.
Okay.
Complete communication black off. And we're doing the speeches, and I did my speeches, thanks for everyone coming. My mum had done the speeches, thanks for everyone coming. And Gong grabs hold of the microphone. And we're like, oh, well, Gong's got something to say. Okay, cool. Because he was mainly translating to everyone was there. And he said, so my dad gave me a text message this morning. And we're like, oh shit. Okay. So I put my hand on his shoulder, thinking it was about to say that his dad had slayed us, just said this is an abomination. You shouldn't be doing this. And he read it out, and he says, "Son, I know we've had our differences, but be assured that I am happy for you, and I hope that you are enjoying your special day today. And I will welcome Nick into our house as a new son." And all of the Western people in the restaurant just start crying.
Yeah, I'm tearing up right now.
So the Westerners start crying, and the Chinese people just look at the Westerners and wonder what the fuck's going on. Because he hasn't said it in Chinese yet. So he translates it into Chinese.
Shit. Okay.
So, of course, the Chinese people are now crying. So we have a restaurant of about 80 people in the middle of the hutongs just grabbing tissues frantically.
Right.
Crying. And it was an evil sod for that. But,
well, that's a hell of a way to get the acceptance, though. That's really nice.
And that's the thing, is China is developing in baby steps.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, China is also a country of contradiction.
Yeah.
So, and a couple of years ago, I don't know if you heard, but the people that censor internet productions and televisions censored watching gay material.
Yeah, you can't have, just like themes and material. We're not talking gay porn. We're talking, we're any talking, porn is no go, but we're talking like just themes.
Open homosexual relationships.
Right.
2 guys having a kiss or a cuddle, or 2 guys snuggling on a Sunday morning in bed. is seen as abhorrent sexual behavior.
They're worried about the cognitive dissonance for like the people in the people they're judging who cannot handle it. Meanwhile, people are evolving, as in your husband's father's case.
Yeah.
But,
and I think that was the thing is that judgment call was made by someone who cannot handle it.
Of course.
And
the people who go for this is a general, not a China specific statement. Generally, the people who want to police those sorts of things, that says that maybe says more about them than
the lady doth protest too
much. Yes, exactly. So if you're drawn to that as a gig, then you're gonna have your own things to be sorting out.
So, and I think that's the sad thing, because I don't know if anyone else says this, but I have this saying that the more you see something, the more you accept it.
Yeah.
And in some ways that's a positive thing, and in some ways that's a negative thing. The more you see homophobia, the more you accept it as an acceptable thing. But the more you see homosexuality as not this weird thing, that love is love, and the more that is visible, the more it is accepted, which is why obviously the gay community still believes that we require pride, as we've just had Pride Month.
Yeah. Got a few more days.
Yeah, so we try to be visible during this month because we're still needing acceptance. We still need people to understand that it's not an unusual thing. Yeah. I mean, you ask any gay person, any homosexual, any LGBT, whatever the extra letters are, I've lost track now.
Sure.
But
I think people agree to shorten it to the 4 to be inclusive of the spectrum of folks.
None of us chose to be who we are.
Yeah.
As I didn't choose to be blue-eyed. I didn't choose to be left-handed. I didn't choose to be gay.
I grew up in the South, in Atlanta, which is very gay-friendly. I lived next to West Side. I lived in Hollywood. If I wanted to be gay, I grew up in the theater.
Yeah.
I would have been like waving the flag at the front of the parade if I wanted to be gay. But I'm the way I am.
Yeah.
But your social attitudes are more complicated.
So I try to do the whole thing of being I am what I am. Don't judge me until you know me.
Yeah.
Don't tell me what I can and cannot be because of who I am. I know what I can and can't do. And I think that's important for the gay community to be out and to be gay, to be visibly gay, but also be as individual as you can be.
Yeah.
So I am a gay man and I am a comedian who wears high heels, can strip a rifle in a wingback armchair in America.
Yeah.
I am a gay man who can serve on a military submarine. I'm a gay man who can care after elderly people with mental health issues. I'm a gay man who can keep going after a failed engagement and a suicide attempt from his parents. And I'm a gay man who can abandon my home, move half the way across the world, be an immigrant from a country who doesn't accept immigrants, and be an immigrant in another part of the world with a different language that I don't understand, in a culture that even after 5 years I still have trouble understanding, and just prove that I'm a gay man. And
Nick, that's the best way to end it possible, man.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, dude.
Thanks.
All right, that's the show this week. Don't forget to visit crazyinagoodway.com to find out more about Nick, my other guests on this show, or the other shows that I have been fortunate to produce. I appreciate you listening. As I said, I will have one more brand new episode of Big Fish in the Middle Kingdom next week, where I do a bit of a recap of the series and talk about some future plans, and I'm going to do my best to make it special and fun for you, so please check it out then. Thank you again for listening to this episode, and I'll see you soon.